Cosmic Brief, your guide to the universe.
What if every atom around you suddenly became 4 times larger, instantly, without warning? Not heavier, not more energetic, just bigger. It sounds abstract, but atomic size defines the structure of everything you see, touch, and stand on. If atoms expanded, reality itself would stretch outward in a violent geometric chain reaction. Atoms are mostly empty space. The nucleus is tiny, and electrons exist in probability clouds far away from the center. The size of atoms determines how close molecules can sit next to each other. That spacing is what gives matter its density, strength, and shape. If atomic radius quadrupled, volume would increase by roughly 64 times. That means every solid object would attempt to expand massively in all directions at once. Walls would bulge, roads would rise, steel beams would twist, concrete would fracture, not because of heat or explosions, but because molecular spacing changed. Your body would expand too. Every cell, every molecule, every protein structure would enlarge. You wouldn't feel like you are growing because your nerves also expand, but the stress between connected tissues would be extreme. Biological structures evolved for precise molecular distances. That precision would be gone. Air would change immediately. Gas density depends on particle spacing. With larger atoms, air molecules collide sooner and occupy more volume. The atmosphere would thicken and become dramatically more resistant to motion. Breathing would feel like pulling air through a dense fluid. Sound would travel differently. Vibrations would transmit through a denser medium, possibly faster in some regions and slower in others depending on pressure equalization. Voices would distort. Water would behave strangely. Liquid structure depends on molecular geometry. Expanded atoms would force water molecules farther apart, lowering cohesion and altering surface tension. Waves would move differently. Droplets would form poorly. Rain might fall as mist instead of drops. Electronics would fail almost instantly. Semiconductor behavior depends on quantum-scale distances between atoms. Change that spacing and conductive pathways collapse. Chips stop switching. Signals stop propagating. Every processor, every memory device, every grid controller, offline. Chemical reactions would slow dramatically. Reaction rates depend on collision probability and orbital overlap. Larger atoms mean weaker overlap and lower reaction efficiency. Combustion would struggle. Engines would stall. Fire would weaken. Material strength would collapse across the planet. Structural integrity comes from bond geometry. Stretch the bonds and you reduce stiffness. Metals would become softer. Ceramics would crack. Glass would warp. Gravity would not change, but density would. With matter expanding in volume without gaining mass, average density drops sharply. Many objects would become easier to move. Heavy objects would feel lighter relative to their size, but also more fragile. Buildings would not simply grow, they would deform. Different materials expand differently. Composite structures would tear themselves apart at their connection points. Mountains would fracture along fault lines due to internal stress redistribution. Not earthquakes, but slow structural rupture. Vehicles would seize. Engines rely on micrometer tolerances. Pistons, valves, bearings, all lose precision fit instantly. Human technology is built on atomic predictability. Remove that, civilization pauses. But here is the deeper consequence. Light interaction changes too. Optical properties depend on electron spacing and resonance. Colors could shift. Transparency could change. Some materials might become opaque, others more reflective. The sky itself might appear slightly different in tone due to altered scattering behavior. Biochemistry would suffer the most. Enzymes depend on shape matching. Lock and key molecular binding would fail. Metabolism slows. Neural transmission weakens. Muscle contraction efficiency drops. You would feel heavy, slow, and exhausted, even without gravity changing, because your molecular machines are no longer aligned. Could life adapt? Not quickly. Evolution tunes biology to atomic constants. Sudden change means systemic mismatch. Fortunately, real physics prevents this scenario. Atomic size is governed by fundamental constants: the fine structure constant, Planck's constant, electron charge. Changing atomic radius globally would require rewriting the laws of quantum mechanics. But this thought experiment reveals something profound. Reality feels solid, but solidity is geometry at the quantum scale. Change the scale, and the world dissolves without a single explosion. If atoms grew 4 times larger, nothing would burn, nothing would detonate, yet almost everything would fail. Structure is not about mass, it is about distance, and distance is everything.